I've had a request to explain a little bit about lookups. So we're going to take a look at 5 different uses of lookup, and then we're going to extend it to vlookup and hlookup. So let's start with our data. I've just created a table here with the kind of postcode, latitude, longitude, and then I've added some additional columns A, B, Z, and X. If we just look at the lookup formula, we can see that the first thing it asks is what's the lookup value we're going to use, and we're going to use this cell here, which is AB14, and then the table is the table of values that we've got. So we're going to look up AB14 in the table, and when we look at the result, what it gives us is the last column from the table that relates to AB14. If we want a different column, we actually have to use a slightly different, we have to put it in a different range. So if we select that, we look up the same value. The lookup range is this one here that we put in first, and then the result, we put in the result range, and that can then pick out the number that we want, which is this one here, 2.27. I generally don't use lookup. I always use vlookup, which is the vertical lookup, and that allows you to choose the lookup value and the offset for a particular table. So if you look up, we're again using the lookup value AB14. We're using the whole table, and we're looking up the offset, which is 1, and we should get AB14 for that. And then we can go down looking up the different offsets, and you can see that we get 57, 2, 5, 500, etc. The problem with using lookup and vlookup like that is easily demonstrated. If we cut that value there and we paste it to the bottom, you see that what's happened is that because it doesn't force an exact match, we're actually in the lookup, we're picking up XX4 here, which is actually related to AB13 and 2.27, and the same for vlookup. Again, we're picking up this here, which is correct in sorts, because it's expecting, the function is expecting a sorted array of data. And that's why we always use vlookup with a different criteria, which is false. So if you add this false statement here, that forces an exact match. And so when we want to look up AB14, we get precisely the numbers that we require down here. Okay, so I would always recommend using vlookup with false, and again you get exactly the same if you use hlookup. So this is doing a horizontal lookup, so rather than going down the columns, it goes across. So what we're asking hlookup to do is to look up the value of xxx with an offset of 22. So if we're looking at xxx with an offset of 22, we should be expecting XX21. What we're actually getting is 500, and the reason there is because it's not in alphabetical order, and because Z, it sees Z and it thinks, oh well, that's the end of the list from an alphabetical perspective, so it's going to pick this value here. If we use hlookup with false, that forces it to find the value that we want, which is XX21. So always use hlookup with false and vlookup with false. That's my that's my standard mode of operating.